Oh, you haven't heard about anglerfish before, have you? Let's change that. You may have heard about this lovely lady coming to the surface, which may have also brought up questions about anglerfish. What are they? Do they all live in the deep sea? Are they all ugly? Anglerfish are members of the order Lovelies, and some of them look like this and live in the deep sea, but some of them look like this, or even this. There's a lot of diversity here, a lot of different species, and they all have interesting appearances. Some, but not all, of the deep sea anglerfish do have parasitic males, but again, this isn't all, and some of them, they don't do this for life. Some only do it for a brief period, while others are just fused there forever. It just depends on the species. Anglerfish are characterized by having a lure. This, to be precise. Some of them will have a light on the end to help draw in prey. Others will have one that they just wiggle around to make it look like it's prey, when in fact, the thing it's going to eat will become the prey. While other ones will have a specific smell that lures others in. Many of these are probably a lot smaller than you're suspecting. Like this. Others are very good at camouflage, and many of them are not very good swimmers. Some even waddle along on their fins, which kind of look like feet in this case. Are they all ugly? That's up to interpretation. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, I guess. Oh, you haven't heard about carcinization before, have you? Let's change that. I have been gone long enough for you all to forget that you're not going to turn into crabs. So we need a reminder. Carcinization refers to the tendency for groups to evolve a crab-like body form in Decapoda, which is also within Crustacea. Here we have fake crabs. These are porcelain crabs, which are not true crabs. They evolved a crab-like body form, but they are not crabs. We just call them that. Are you in Crustacea? Are you in Decapoda? No! A little biology lesson. You're a mammal in Chordata, which is not in Crustacea or Decapoda.
And therefore you will not be turning into a crab. No, you're not a crab.
I've had to tell you all this so often that when you look up carcinization now on Google, my face comes up on the AI-generated summary. Which, by the way, I don't like the AI-generated summaries. Yes, you can use -AI and it won't do this. However, sometimes I forget. Or I'm tired. But anyway, AI sucks. But I'm there! Likely, the reason that carcinization has happened so frequently in Decapoda is because the crab-like body shape is just the one that works the best for those that have the equipment to do it, which you don't. Do you have a carapace? No. Do you have chelipeds? No. No crab for you. Oh, you haven't heard about porcelain crabs before, have you? Let's change that. If you were around for my onslaught of content about carcinization, you likely heard me talk about the fact that porcelain crabs are imposters, aren't true crabs because they're not brachyurans. Porcelain crabs are one of the crab groups that evolved to look like the crab body shape, but they're fake. However, they are gorgeous, and they have lots of different colors. They tend to be quite small, and they have very flattened bodies, which makes them easier for picking up, except they can be feisty. I've had some that were feisty towards me. Grab them in the back. Right here. You can just scoop like this and pick them up. And again, I mentioned they're very beautiful. They have lots of pretty colors and patterns, but the most fun part about them is that they have little fans. They hold out these little fans, which are antennae, and they can use them to capture prey. So what they'll do is, it's like a filter feeding. They'll do like this. And it's super fun to watch. If you ever get to see an aquarium that has these, it's very fun to just watch them do this over and over and over again. Or sometimes what they'll do is they'll hold them up like this, and then they'll do this, and then they'll hold them up again and do this. It's very fun. Oh, you haven't heard of a sea sheep before, have you? Let's change that. This one has a couple different names, like the leaf slug or a leaf sheep, but it's all the same critter. Also, this is not a nudibranch. It is actually a sacoglossan, which is a type of sea slug, but not a nudibranch. They are adorable, but they are also thieves. Algae thieves, to be precise. When they consume the very specific kind of algae that they eat, they take the chloroplast out of those algae. Chloroplasts are organelles that are used by plants and algae to photosynthesize. The she sheep is then able to use those chloroplasts for its own benefit. It is able to photosynthesize using them, thus creating its own food. Now it does have to replenish these, but that's still something that you could not do. It's very impressive, actually. So they're able to get their food both by eating algae and from the chloroplast that it steals from the algae. 2 birds, 1 stone. Oh, you haven't heard about the shrimp trapped in Venus's flower baskets before. Phew. Let's change that. We've already talked about glass sponges, but I alluded to something that gets trapped inside of them. Some Stenopodididae, yes, that was a mouthful, are shrimp-like animals that are crustaceans that can get trapped inside of the Venus's flower basket, which looks like this. What happens is that 2 shrimp will find one another, and those 2 lovers will crawl inside of the Venus's flower basket. They are small, so they're able to get inside of there. However, they do not stay small forever, and in fact they grow too large to escape, thus meaning that they are trapped together for the rest of their lives inside of a glass cage. And their kids will do the exact same thing, and it's just a cycle over and over again of them getting trapped. The moral of the story here is that you better like your partner if you're going to be trapped with them for a long time. You better start washing the dishes. It's just a small space to not like each other for a time. Oh, you haven't heard about the strawberry squid before, have you? Let's change that. The strawberry squid is genuinely a very cool animal. Here, it looks bedazzled, stunning, and you thought that all deep-sea animals were ugly. You were wrong. Here, you can see better why it's called a strawberry squid, because of the texture that makes it look like a strawberry. That texture is actually provided by what's known as photophores, which are little light organs. But you probably also noticed that the eyes look kind of odd. This is one eye, and this is the other one. Strawberry squid are a type of cockeye squid, and they use those different eyes for different purposes. For reference, your eyes have the same purpose. They see the same type of thing in the same kind of way, for most people anyway. But not these. Their different eyes help them to see different kinds of light, with one eye being green and the other one looking normal. Just another very cool example of how living in extreme places can result in extreme phenotypes. Oh, you're wondering if dolphins are actually evil, aren't you? Let's change that. It is a popular meme to joke that dolphins are pure evil, and sure, I've been in on the joke sometimes, but people will often state that they're so intelligent that they are able to use the intelligence for evil, and that being intelligent is synonymous with being evil. That sounds like a little bit of anti-intellectualism right there, doesn't it? Which during this current political climate, probably not great. So let's look at the facts. Intelligence isn't necessarily synonymous with evil in the animal kingdom. Dolphins are very playful because of their high intelligence. Often you will see them memed because they're playing with pufferfish. Whether or not they're actually using these pufferfish to get certain effects from them is highly debated, and I don't have an answer for you on that. But playing with things in their environment, such as these fish, or seaweed, or one another, is intellectually stimulating for them, which is good for their brains, but it can also help them to practice hunting, which can make them more successful at hunting in the future, which increases their fitness. We as humans tend to anthropomorphize animals, meaning that we give them human-like traits, even if that is not representative of their actual biology or behavior. So we might say that a dolphin looks like it's smiling, so it's happy, but that's just the physical shape of its beak and its mouth. Or that it's pestering these poor pufferfish, so it's evil. Or some of the other behaviors that I can't necessarily talk about on this platform that they will engage in. Again, many of these animals are just following their biology. Many of these behaviors that you observe do have a purpose, but we can't just come in and say that they're behaving like us, that they're being evil, because what that does is it causes us to put our human biases on something that does not function like a human. They function like dolphins because they are built like dolphins. They have their own unique evolutionary history that has made them the way that they are. And it can be dangerous for us to assume certain things about animals because we see this in ourselves. But again, it's also very dangerous for us to assume that just because you're more intelligent, that you're more capable of cruelty. Because again, this insinuates that high intelligence also equals high cruelty or being evil. Which certainly, some people are that way, but not everyone. The world is very nuanced. And in the scientific realm, we have to think of things in terms of what is their biology, not ours. So while the dolphin jokes can be funny, it's important to remember that we can't categorize them in the same way that we would categorize ourselves, and that we also need to be careful with how we categorize humans, so that we aren't adding specific biases to humans that we don't need. Oh, you haven't heard about the Bony-Eared Assfish before, have you? Let's change that. You all had begged and pleaded, so fine, here it is. The Bony-Eared Assfish. Why on earth did it have that name? We don't know. Normally when people name a fish or any organism, they leave a description as to why they named it a certain way. Unfortunately, the guy who named it, Albert Gunther, did not tell us why he named it the Bony-Eared Assfish. It is thought that it could be in reference to the fact that ass is also donkey, so it has something to do with donkeys, but that doesn't really make sense either. Furthermore, fish don't have ears. There's a bunny. I was filming. There he is. He had his paws on my back and was like pawing up my back as I was filming. Anyway, fish don't have ears, but they can hear, so it's even more confusing as to why it's named this. They are a type of cusk eel, and the head was described as large and thick, so maybe they were trying to say that it's stubborn like an ass? I don't know. We don't know. Sometimes animals get really weird names. Oh, you've heard about Yeti Crabs before, have you? Let's change that. Yeti Crabs are a group of DC crabs that have very fuzzy arms. This isn't for fashion purposes. It's much worse than that, although they are kind of fashionable. Yeti crabs are native to the deep sea, and in the deep sea there's not as much food to go around, and there's either very little sun or none, so they have to count on other food sources. So crabs rely on bacteria that are chemosynthetic and do not need sunlight to produce food. However, they do require the hydrothermal vents, and therefore Yeti crabs will farm their little bacteria. And they'll often congregate by these vents because there are not just vents all over the ocean floor. So when you find one, you stay there. Anyway, what they'll do is they'll wave their little armies, although they're more rigid, so it's more like this, over those hydrothermal vents, and they'll grow their bacteria. And when it's time to eat their meal, they'll just scrape it off of their arm. That's like if you grew food on your arm hairs and then scrape them off with your teeth. Sometimes you just have to do what's available, and if it's between not eating or scraping it off of your arm hairs, we should do the latter. Oh, you haven't heard about the ping pong tree sponge before, have you? Just change that. First, we have Kitten Break.
She attack? She give oh my god. That teeth. And eyeballs. Oh.
I did not make this up. These are not underwater balloons. It is the ping pong tree sponge. Which, you know what? That is what it looks like. I'll give it to the scientist who named it. It lives in, you guessed it, the deep sea. Even more, it's a carnivorous sponge. Most sponges are filter feeders, but these have special spicules that allow it to ensnare its prey. They're on the hook, if you will. And these are, in fact, animals, even though they probably don't look like it, especially not right here. But sometimes life, finds a way, and that way may look a little weird to us, because it's different from us. But that doesn't make it any less valid, and you can read into that whatever you will.